Welcome to NFL Daily, where it's always a good day to welcome Colleen, Wolfe back into the Chris Wesseling podcast studio. I'm Gregg Rosenthal. Jourdan Rodrigue of The Athletic is also here. The See You Next Tuesday crew is back for the offseason.
Hey,
We've been
so
renewed.
Good. I love it. Hello, I'm back, baby.
Rejuvenated.
Yeah.
Are we?
Hanging on by a thread. it feels
Are we?
like.
Yeah, because you were in Philadelphia for the parade, and we're going to get to that in just a second. But we actually have some breaking news to start the show. Just 2 minutes ago, NASA has updated that there is now a 3.1% chance an asteroid will hit the Earth in 2032, which is up from 2.6% yesterday. This is the highest risk assessment the asteroid has ever received, surpassing 2.7% in 2004. I feel like this is worth stopping down. I can't really focus on the rest of the show at this point.
I just want to know if we could pick up the pace a little bit. 2032 is a long way away.
Yeah, just put us out of our misery
I mean,
now.
is it though? Like, imagine if you were told that you have a 3.1% chance of winning the lottery. Wouldn't that seem awfully high?
I would think it's pretty low still, but I guess it is high. It's definitely high.
It's
Math is definitely
exceptionally high.
Let me put this into football context.
Yeah,
When you
please.
said that number, I just was like, where have I heard something like this percentage before? The Rams had like a 3% chance of making the playoffs this year after a 1-4
Here we go.
start. Look what happened.
If you just say what is every team's chance to win the Super Bowl in a given year, it's pretty close to.
Okay, I can only learn things through a football
And your
filter,
team won.
so
Your team won.
much clearer now.
I feel like this should be a bigger deal.
Much
but maybe
like
it's
the
not as
asteroid
distracting.
of 2032, the Philadelphia Eagles were inevitable.
Yeah. If you knew the Earth was going to end in 7 years, like, what would that do? You know, what would you change in terms of your life process?
I'd quit my job. I'm just kidding. I love my job. I would probably move somewhere that's like exotic by a beach, like Costa Rica, maybe.
If you you wouldn't go to Philadelphia.
The exotic land of Philadelphia. That's, you know what? After the Super Bowl, everybody goes.
Tell us about the parade. We haven't talked at all.
We edit out that I said I'm going to quit my job. Listen, everyone would quit their job. All right.
If
If
they
nothing,
could, I mean,
nothing matters,
a lot of people don't, have any money, so that would be a problem for the next 7 years.
I haven't saved
not all of
anything. Do
us.
you think that I've saved money? No way.
I'll plan on bartering.
We haven't spoken, Colleen, since your team won the Super Bowl.
Yay.
And yeah, the Eagles have gotten a lot of love on this show since. And yeah, I need to hear more about it. I want to back up to Super Bowl night, but let's start with the parade. Because I saw on Instagram you're heading to Philadelphia. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. The NFL Network's having Colleen cover the parade again. And then I realized, no, you're just there in the crowd.
No, I was like, hey, guys, I just so happened to be in Philadelphia the day that the parade is happening. You want me to do anything? No, we don't need your help. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, I can just go enjoy it. The thing is, I was always going to be in Philadelphia that day because my Uncle Jack was getting married that night. It was Valentine's Day. So I did a very aggressive double dip of the Eagles championship parade, followed by a wedding in Northeast Philadelphia. And speaking of exotic locations, if you're not familiar with Northeast Philadelphia, maybe you should book a trip there at some point soon. Gorgeous.
Sometime in the next 7 years.
Yes. What was it? What was it like? It looked like a scene. Did you go to the first parade?
I did. I covered that. That was the Cardi B year when I didn't realize I was being recorded, and then it was played back to me.
And
on
you were
broadcast
singing
when I was
Cardi B.
singing Cardi B. I was very excited, but it was interesting because it was two different vantage points. So this time I was just hanging out with my friends with some Fireball in my pocket.
Nice.
That's different than being on the mic singing Cardi B. I mean, it's close, but different.
It's in the same realm. But I heard that this one felt like the first one felt like catharsis. This one felt like a party. That's how Les Bowen was describing it.
Yeah.
That people were just really soaking this one in and enjoying it because they'd already broken through. The ashes were poured at the last one of all the people who never got to see a championship, all of that. And this one was just an all-out party.
It was like a release. The first one was like, okay, we got there. Like just a release and relief at the same time. And then this one was just like, look at us now, we're back in it.
Like everyone gets into Super Bowl parades and World Championship parades, but there actually is no other city that's like Philadelphia and how they do it in terms of getting ready the night before and like the amount of people that are there and out there. They really do go harder, just like they did, coming to the Super Bowl and kind of dominating the crowd. So
that's
congrats
true.
to the people.
I will say the liquor stores the night before the parade were absolutely insane, and I completely forgot about all of the laws surrounding alcohol in Pennsylvania. There are a lot of them. So some challenges, dealt with some adversity, but here I am.
It's like a morning thing, isn't it? Like there's one where you can't. So I also saw a post where it was like, some people in the crowd were throwing up the airplane bottles of liquor to the wags, and they were downing them and throwing them back. Like I was like, hell yeah, that's everything.
Yeah.
Like what a rad group of people.
I know.
You were in the stadium announcing the freaking Super Bowl as the in-stadium host. We're very proud to see that. We mentioned that on the post show.
We have so many videos.
But as the Eagles won it, so like what was that like? And what was the afterglow and all that stuff? I somehow didn't see you in all of that.
I know. I feel like I didn't see anyone. I don't know what happened. Where did I go? But it was surreal because last year was the first time I did the in stadium during the Super Bowl announcing, and that was really cool. Just a totally different experience than I've ever had before. And it was Las Vegas, and it was the final stadium that I needed to check off my list to get to all of them. So that was great. But this time with the Eagles in it, it was much more surreal. And also doing it with Rondé Barber, who Eagles fans absolutely hate. So it just added this other layer of kind of fun to the whole thing. But I was standing on the field during the coin toss, and that's when I normally am not someone who can pause in the moment and be like, oh, this is cool. I'm like just waiting for it to be over to make sure I don't mess it up, and then I can enjoy it once it's done. But I was standing there during coin toss just looking around and thinking to myself, holy this is wild.
That is badass.
That's cool.
Just think how angry the Chiefs fans there would have been if they had known that the lady and doing everything is an Eagles fan, but you kept your professional.
I
played it straight. You're actually wearing red too.
This. Yes, we talked about this. You were wearing red, right? But theory. This isn't maybe an Ask Connie for later in the show, but I have this question because I loved your necklace that you were wearing.
Oh, thank you so much.
But from far away, it looked like a bird with wings outstretched. Like I know it wasn't, but it looked like, and I was like, is Connie like subtly go birds right now? Like subconsciously go birds right now? Because I know you had to wear the red suit and be neutral and all of that, but I was like, that balanced it out. The universal balance was back.
It did. Now that I'm thinking about it, it was wing-like the way that it was shaped. But no, that was not by design at all. So total coincidence.
Well, everything's coming up, Connie.
It was like finally at the end when we did our final hit after they won and like the confetti's going. I was like, okay, can I now say something? Can I now talk about the Eagles? And they were like, go ahead, do it. And I was like, just went freaking wild.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it was all pent up.
I need to get that video and play it on this show since we forgot to consider having Connie on the show on the field where we were right after the game. I was thinking about it as I'm leaving the stadium that night, and I was like, oh well, maybe next time the Eagles win the Super Bowl and we're all still employed there, I'm sure that's gonna happen.
I know. I was just wandering around with a trash bag filling
just like for a minute or two to come join us. If we could have Howie Roseman on and AJ Brown, we can have Connie, but next time.
I don't know how you missed me with all those rhinestones on.
I did see that from way above. It was really
really
amazing.
Sweet. So we got some videos and stuff of you on the we were panning from the field
guys
to the jump.
Are so sweet.
But it was really cute. We were walking, so the Superdome had so many steps everywhere, and just so we were going up and down these steps in different booths and everything. And Gregg stops all of a sudden, and I'm like, "What? Why'd he stop?" And he got his phone out like a proud parent. And he was like filming you, and I turn around and I just see his face, and he's just grinning like just the biggest smile, and he's like, "Look, we know her." And I was like, "Oh,
you guys!" I actually get like this whenever I see my friends on TV, like when I see you guys, and it's so weird because this is our job. We work.
No, it
in
is like
TV.
I've seen you on TV a million times. For some reason, and other friends I'm lucky enough to see on TV.
Flex.
But
Like hearing
for
Cynthia's
some
voice.
reason, actually being in the stadium of the Super Bowl
Yeah,
and you're there
cool.
on that's cooler. That's cooler than all of it. Connie's so cool. We've built a whole show around asking her
guys.
opinions. Later, we're gonna ask Connie. We took listener questions and
Got a range of them, I'll tell you what.
I
you know,
cannot wait to
I'm looking
hear
for it.
these
They're about life.
questions.
They're about football. But first, we'll hit a little bit of news. Not a ton of news dropping right now. I did the franchise tag primer last week with our friend Nick Shook. As our people are listening to this, as we're taping this, the door is open. The teams can officially apply the franchise tag. And our first item of news does come from that. It's from our Tom Pelissero saying that the Bengals are focused on a long-term deal for T. Higgins, but if they cannot reach it by the end of the franchise tag period, they are expected to place the franchise tag on T. Higgins. This would be a second straight year, so he gets a 20% bump off what it was last year. I think he'll be around $26 million. It looks like that's what's going to happen because they never get the deals done early. T. Higgins, I guess, is likely staying with the Bengals. I'm still not even sure, but they're going to use the tag.
Them releasing this or leaking it or however it came upon our timelines, it felt like a veiled threat almost.
Ooh.
It's like, hey, if you're not going to make this easy or if we can't get this done, we're going to tag you for a second consecutive year, when it's been extremely clear that Joe Burrow, that other members of the team want this to get done. And I don't know, it seems like a half measure to me. It doesn't seem like it is a half measure to me to not be able to secure that long-term deal with the player that the franchise quarterback has openly been discussing in terms of keeping and sort of pressuring the organization publicly in ways we have not seen from him before. And so to me, this is playing a dangerous game. They did it last year, as we know. It's playing a dangerous game again this year because it's like, okay, like, how happy will you actually be with a half measure? Or like it's that meme of like the giant tub of water that's leaking and someone slaps a little piece of duct tape on it. It says fixed.
Yeah, this has to be so incredibly frustrating for T. Higgins as a 26-year-old. He's going to be one of the top skill position free agents that would be available if he didn't get the tag. Having the tag back-to-back years, now he can't go out and leverage what could be a bidding war and actually get paid here. Like, he is one of the best number 2 wide receivers in the league. Maybe for some teams, he could even be a number 1 wide receiver. So I know that this team has so many issues with their defense and like paying obviously to wide receivers wouldn't be wise, so a tag makes sense for them. But it's just, I think it's a real bummer because, as you said, Joe Burrow is out here like, look, we can push money, we can do signing bonuses.
Yeah, Joe Burrow put his over the cap on earlier and was like talking about how much could be restructured or front loaded and different things and how his contract can be opened up in different ways. And I'm like, okay,
future GM.
He is public about this to the point where I've not seen. I guess I wasn't expecting him to be this public about the pressure.
He's just pressuring. He's like, why are you better do every possible thing to get everyone paid, or I'm going to be really upset. He is exerting as much public leverage as he possibly can. It's interesting about the timing because it was a team source that said, that they'll tag him by the March 4th deadline in order to have time to get a deal done. I thought maybe it's a little bit of like, we're not going to Jesse Bates him, which is just letting him walk on the second tag, that it also could be a signal to the rest of the league. Like, hey, you want to trade for him? Like, let's get those offers in because we can tag and trade him.
Yeah.
And that's a whole thing.
They could do that. And they haven't figured out the Jamar Chase situation yet. If they could go back in time and figure out the T. Higgins situation before the Jamar Chase price went up even higher, you probably would want to do that. Now you're stuck between a rock and a hard place with 2 receivers, and you might have to float, like you said, the idea of tagging and trading one, and that's going to piss your quarterback off.
Well, there's a report on ESPN that the team will attempt to secure all 3 stars who need new deals this offseason. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins,
We're going to try.
and Trey Hendrickson, which is like, that's great. I'm attempting to get like a a color analyst job on one of the major networks for the NFL games. Like,
Live past the meteor.
put me on it.
Live past the meteor.
That would be good too.
Wait, did you guys see T. Higgins' mom tweeting too?
No.
No, tell us.
She tweeted last night. She tweeted Monday night, selfish bastards. And that was it.
Woo, girl.
However, like in the comments, everyone's like, is this about the Bengals? And she's like, no, it's not. Not at all. Like, so she's saying it's something completely different, but just no context, selfish bastards.
I think she just finished the first 6 episodes of Love is Blind. The guy.
She's definitely watching Traders if we're talking about the Bengals.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, the Bengals are going to try to get everything done.
Well, you know
I'm
what,
skeptical.
Greg? As long as they try their
I know.
best, that'll definitely make Joe Burrow satisfied with this offseason.
We just want them all to have fun.
I think if you were a Bengals fan, though, actually you're happy that they're not doing the Jesse Bates thing, which is just letting him walk away. Because, yeah, him or Devontae Smith are the best number 2 receiver in the league. He's a top 20 receiver in the league overall. He's my number 1 overall free agent of this entire class. And I kind of think, like, you can't really do all that. You have to trade either Trey Hendrickson or T. Higgins, probably. I would probably
What would you do?
I would probably try to trade Trey Hendrickson, see what you can get. But if it's not a lot, you get more for T. Higgins. It's not that crazy to pay Jamar Chase, pay Trey Hendrickson. And if you can get like a high second for T where you drafted him,
I don't think you're far off
it's okay.
in that at all, actually, Greg, because I actually do. Sorry. I meant you made a very good point just now. They're going to be able to figure out what, like, basically who loses out on the potential Myles Garrett trade sweepstakes. Everybody's going to know the teams that are involved in wanting to trade for Myles Garrett and what the capital would be. And if you're saying Trey Hendrickson could be tradable, then there is a chance that, you know, you could figure out like who the loser of that potential deal is or who's in the mix for it. And then that's where you push. There's not really anything like that for a receiver right now. So you would be then setting whatever the market possibilities would be if it's T. Higgins is tradable, but you would already know them and be able to leverage and lobby whatever that top trade
You also have a
is.
lot of time because if you tag them, it's just sort of this never-ending thing. You could have all the way into the draft to get that trade done. One item that popped up last week was there was a report, not from a regular NFL reporter, that said the Steelers
A cool reporter,
had
not
made,
like a regular one.
had made a call, not like a day-to-day beat writer.
Throwback.
That the Steelers had made a call about Trevor Lawrence, and since that has happened, the Jaguars came out publicly and said that it was ridiculous, that never happened. Now there's sources on the Steelers side through Pro Football Talk and NFL.com where they said the Steelers never even made that call, but Trevor Lawrence is not going anywhere. And that's sort of an off-season news cycle of things, but that it would be ridiculous for them to consider trading Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence was funny. He was talking about how his agent texted him, was like, hey, this is just like a report that's floating around. I'll check into it. And then he said, and then I'm thinking about it, and I have a no trade clause. So I would know about this if it was going to happen. They don't even have a GM still, right?
No. That's
Who's making it? Who's making the trade?
Who are these people? This is the time of year. Oh, you're right. Now we know who's pulling the strings.
I mean, it really is him. It's him and Tony Baselli, but I don't.
This time of year is so frustrating. It sucks because there are just so many non-stories, but also could be a story that you have to read into everything and read between the lines of everything too.
I mean, Trevor Lawrence is about. They would not put him up for a trade, but he's about like one disappointing year with a new head coach that has a long contract away from it not being that crazy.
I've sort of made this reference before when it comes to Liam Cohen, but like he's a good vibes guy. Like I'm happy for Trevor Lawrence that he's got like a good vibes team around him in terms of his coaching staff and the people who will be working with him every day and maybe helping him feel like refreshed and better. Like Grant Udinsky, who came over from Minnesota, who's going to be the OC, literally gets lost intentionally in the Scandinavian wilderness every summer. Like,
what?
Right. Like goes off the grid.
No.
Yeah. And like they'll
Why?
like it's just the most, I guess it's a hobby, you know. It's
Getting lost in the wilderness?
I mean, it has to be like a
He goes-
controlled loss, because if you wanted to get lost and die in the wilderness, like you could do it.
I got lost
You,
in
you have
jail.
to have some guardrails on that.
he searches the fjords, you know. That's kind of what he does for his like get away from football time. I'm just saying I like I just like the general dynamic in terms of bringing some freshness into that room. Trevor Lawrence, he's really an interesting guy. I know that we don't necessarily see that all the time. A lot of it's just been like he's been stressed and around people that kind of stink, frankly, in terms of his coaches and not Doug Peterson, but prior to that, the urban years. And he actually is pretty cool. Like his brother's an artist. Like he's got a good family. I just get the sense that like he's ready to take that step forward and like be around a collective like hive mind of people who all want to thrive and succeed together.
Brian Thomas Jr. also is like such a great vibes guy. I met him at Honors, and like he was just so nice, so fun. Tried to do the Duval thing with him, the Liam Cohen one. I was just the one that did it, but
wait, do you have an impression?
No, I just did the
you
Duval.
Duval.
So good.
Did you mention the tweet I had about Brian Thomas that that teams could not draft him too early? That was my only draft take of the year.
God, it's so weird. I forgot about that.
You should have.
Next time I talk to him at Honors.
Jaguars fans were very upset about this. Because of the contract, it would never make any sense to trade him right now either. Although it is crazy. If you were making a list of like the most valuable quarterbacks, if you include the contract, it takes a while before you get to Trevor Lawrence. Like he's not top 12. He's probably not top 15, which is just crazy. Even where you would have been with him like a year or two ago. I love fjords though. What a word and what like
I know. I really brought
image.
that point up just to say the word fjord.
There's a book called The Ice Palace that I bought in London this year. It's by Tarjej Vessas. One of the best books I've read of the last year. And it's about these two young girls who kind of get lost in these fjords.
Intentionally or not intentionally?
The intentional part of this is the concerning.
Kind of intentionally, but that's a little bit of a spoiler, but kind of intentional.
As someone who's
It's a
been
dark
lost in the
book.
wilderness, this gives me like heart palpitations.
It's a dark book. I recommend everyone check it out. We'll wrap up the news where I just wanted to give a shout out to NFL.com, who's cranking out some great off-season content this time of year. And this is the type of article we could almost build a whole show out of, but we're not. So I'm just mentioning as a quick little news item that they had 39 different players who would be cut candidates. Could possibly get released the next couple of weeks. You've already seen some of these releases happen. I mentioned how Raheem Mostert and Kendall Fuller, the Dolphins, got cut already. So they listed 39. Matt Akota, who does a great job.
We love Matt.
Wrote that up, and I recommend everyone check it out. But I just thought I'd throw 5 or 6 of the more interesting names out there, and just if you guys have any thoughts, let me know. Tyler Lockett.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. Grady Jarrett of the Falcons.
Wow. End of an era in that case.
Would surprise me a little bit. I'm putting that under 50%, but he came off a really serious injury, and he's a little older, and they might try to get younger. Sam Hubbard of the Bengals, that's where they can save some money. Von Miller seems very obvious to me of the Bills. I think that'll happen. How about this one? Joey Bosa. I think the Bosa and Khalil Mack era could be ending. And then I'll wrap with a bunch of Saints. Derek Carr. That's a big quarterback domino to drop. Does Kellen Moore want to keep him? Taysom Hill maybe because of his contract is really big. Cam Jordan, who's an NFL media colleague of ours.
Yeah, he can just go right over to the media side. I hate that the Saints are in such cap hell because their team name indicates that they shouldn't be in a place like hell, but the Saints, that's where they are. Oh my God. I gotta go. Somebody put me out of my misery. Can we expedite the meteor?
I did love seeing Cam Jordan riding around everywhere in New Orleans on a scooter. Just like he owns that city. It was.
Oh yeah, we saw that at like 11:30. Like he's just by himself. No one was with him.
He had this massive
walking.
Smile on his face. It was cool. I was like,
11:30 a.m.
No, at night, and he just zooms by all by himself on this scooter. And we're like, oh wait, that's Cam Jordan on a scooter. And you know what? It's a great way to get around a city.
It is
like New Orleans, which is It's like you have maybe like a mile to go, but it's not worth getting an Uber.
Any Super Bowl city, because like all the road closures.
I love that humidity. All right, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back and we're going to ask Connie.
Woohoo!
I'm nervous.
Really solve
this is going to be
the universe's problems.
Until the asteroid
gets
here.
It's an asteroid, not a meteor. An asteroid. Well, what's the difference here? Let's take a look.
Back on NFL Daily. living to our fullest
Yeah.
for
Well,
as
we can.
long as we can.
Well, now I know the difference between an asteroid and a meteor. A meteor is just a streak of light, so that's not going to end things. We need the asteroid.
I think I would. I think I would still work. I don't know.
The astro-
Yeah, meteors.
Come on in.
That's not gonna do anything. No. I saw that. Did you see the clip of Jalen Hurts' mom? The TikTok she did of like going into work after her son. won Super
No,
Bowl
I need
MVP.
to see it.
It's just like a little dance and with a little subhead of like, yeah, this is me like going into work after my son
Aw,
is
that's so
Super Bowl MVP.
Aw,
Little
I love
dance or whatever.
that.
And it looked like a school, so I assume she works at a school. And I was in.
I want it to be Abbott Elementary.
Yeah, it had that vibe. Some of the commenters had that vibe, and half the commenters was like, "What's she doing working? How come she still has to work?" And I'm thinking
Oh my
like,
God.
Maybe she finds fulfillment
right,
in
that's
it.
and that's where I'm bringing it back to the asteroid. It's like, would I want to
Take
work?
us out.
Would I want to work? I guess if you knew it was ending and you had the means to not work, yeah, I wouldn't want to work as much.
I wouldn't
or
have the means, to be
that much.
clear. However, I would like maybe work at a bar or do something where I could just like chill, like maybe get like a boutique if I
All right.
could.
How about if I was Mrs. Hertz?
open up a boutique?
I would want to keep working, even if you didn't have to. Well, what are you going to do all day?
All right, Greg.
Right? What are you going to do all day? Maybe
Greg's
do
a
something more fun.
machine.
Do something more fun. I would come here at the Chris Wessling
He's gonna rescue more
podcast
animals.
studio and watch Jourdan take charge of this segment. Ask Connie. Only Jourdan knows the questions that we are asking, and she is going to lead the way.
Oh, okay.
Thank you to everyone who follows us. Ooh.
I can't wait to hear the ones that didn't
Wow,
make the cut.
just like Greg interrupted the drop.
Well, I didn't know it even existed. I mean, the producers
Eric
should
worked
tell
hard
you.
on that.
And it's news to me.
Let's hear it again, Eric.
Ask Connie.
That should be my text tone.
Right?
I don't like the encroaching use of AI on this show. but,
It's fine. We're doomed in 7 years.
It's great.
It's all
Let's do it. It's going to be life questions,
Yes.
football questions, everything. And yes, thank you for everyone who follows us on Blue Sky, and the questions there were all fantastic.
I do feel
Yeah,
like
we got
I have
some-
been very negative about like working, and I do want everyone to know that I do love my job and I'm grateful that I have it. And this is not at all like taking anything I have for granted. So just throwing that out.
Noted for
I'm
the
just
record.
in a mood today.
Yes.
Noted
yes.
for the
that
record.
20-second little soundbite will save you,
I know.
Colleen. That's
The damage is
They're
done.
gonna be like, decide, yay or nay. What about those 20 seconds on
I've
February
said
18th?
too much. Okay.
I love this energy though. It's good. We're all doomed. It's fine. Okay, so this is a mixture of football, life, how to,
Okay.
and what's it all mean.
Oh,
right?
no.
Which
All
I
right.
find
Okay.
you perfect for.
Great.
frankly. There was a really good football question we got, and I think it's a timely question, and I think we're going to need to all collectively start thinking about this
Okay.
as a football society heading into 2025 season. And this is from on Blue Sky, Cartoon Steve Bold. And he negged his own question. I liked his question. He said, I only have a boring NFL question. Not boring, Steve. What's the biggest impact the Eagles will have on other teams' approach?
Oh,
Connie,
this is a good
we'll
question.
throw to you first.
Well, I think teams now are going to look at their coaching staffs and their personnel, and they're going to need a big dom. Like that is obviously where they're going to maybe just more Italian influence altogether.
We tried to get Big Don on the show. He was
Ooh, stiff.
hanging right around our set after
We
the
thought
game.
he wanted to come on.
And he wanted to.
Yeah.
But the Eagles wouldn't let him.
What? What do you mean? Who? He is the Eagles.
Yeah. We Big Dom, if you're listening,
Their
which I do
PR
think you
was
listen
like-
Big
to the
Dom.
show.
I think they were like,
Yeah.
he's not doing it. He wasn't doing any media. So
I feel like he was probably highly requested as
But
well.
sure.
But
he would
our
help.
set was
He would
the
help.
set he
Yeah.
was hanging around. Yeah.
Yeah, let's get some more like, Nick Sirianni, Vic Fangio, Big Dom. They have what? Pennunzio.
that's it. So
uh-huh.
it's just the Italian.
The
Yeah, we're
Italian
doing
vibe.
an Italian influence. Yeah.
That-
I just miss the Italian market, and having been home in Philly, I'm like, the cannolis, let's get more of them.
Cannolis,
Pizza.
let's go.
But I mean, what? Everyone's going to want a Saquon Barkley, but you can't have
Good luck with that.
a
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley also if you don't have that offensive line too. And it's like, oh, here's a novel idea. Why don't you build in the trenches? Like it all starts up front. Yeah, obviously, of course. And that's where we see it. Like you have to wheel and deal a little bit like Howie did and then hit on all your draft picks too.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because everybody says that too. Everybody says we're going to run the ball and we're going to build both lines and all this stuff. The Eagles have actually really just been about it, like legitimately been about it for years. And it's been a years-long process. We're seeing the fruits of their labor now, and we did a couple years ago as well when they won in 2017. But what this is a years-long collaborative, like, guess and check process. And I think what a lot of people are doing, and I actually heard this about this year's GM cycle, where people were interviewing people either from and in the Eagles building or people outside of the building who are candidates for jobs about different practices and methods that have since been publicized that the Eagles use, such as the insurance policies on players and some of the contracts that help mitigate some of the financial damage should anything happen injury-wise, about risk assessment and risk management. I met, and I'll keep her name out of this, but I met this lovely, lovely woman 2 years ago at the Combine who had done some consulting work for the Eagles saying, hey, we're actually trying to assess and quantify the level of draft capital per like red flag for prospects. So if they have certain traits or qualities or background information that we find that are considered to be a red flag, whether that's medical, whether that's psychological, emotional, or personal, how do we quantify that toward draft capital? How do we move that needle up and down? Basically, they're constantly troubleshooting and constantly guessing and checking and trying these little micro experiments behind the scenes. They have a massive front office staff in which they can do this, and they sort of just like let the no, it wasn't the good message.
I'm sorry.
She would be good at that though.
I'm guessing who this person was. Still, I'm trying to guess.
We're sending messages on computers here, but I should have kept a straight face and I couldn't. She would be so perfect for that though. And I just think that they try these little micro experiments, and when they're finally ready to go public with the outliers that they have ascertained for the positive, they've already done so much research and data building behind the scenes that it looks like, oh, they just keep winning. They just keep making these right decisions. There's a whole process that goes into it.
Yeah, they do have a huge front office in general. I mean, their personnel guys weren't getting hired. They're like, I'm still surprised Howie Roseman's right-hand man for the last decade, Alec Allaby, got one interview in this cycle, and
it was the Jets who did the right thing by interviewing a smart candidate,
and they interviewed everyone.
And that's true. It's still there, and but that's like a robust analytics department. That all that stuff's happened. A lot of the stuff that they were doing in 2017 and the line bit, like, it's very consistent. They've always traded more than other teams, and I think there's going to be a lot of trades. But I think the most obvious basic thing that they do better than other teams, that every team could and should copy, is they just get their contract extensions done early with no drama.
Yes.
And that's it. And so you actually end up getting a better price. So they're not going into Jamar Chase's contract year like the Bengals are. And you self-scout well and identify who your guys are. And it's not just the superstars. It's the Josh Sweats who had, like, that first time they re-signed Josh Sweat, people were like, oh, really? The first time they signed Brandon Graham, I remember.
Yes.
And this is like a decade.
Mailata's first deal came so early.
Yeah, and people are like, oh, really? But then that deal ages so well. And then they've already signed Mailata again to another deal. And
it's the opposite of the Bengals.
Yeah, they do
really?
it for, like, a lot of teams, like Devonta Smith. Like, did the Landon Dickerson contract, extension last offseason make a lot of news? No, but, like, imagine if they hadn't done it, what he would be worth this year. And so, like, they'll probably sign Cam Jurgens this year, but teams need to do more of that. We're talking about the off-season plans for a lot of these teams, and that is the best way to spend money, is do it on, like, if Jalen Carter, like, the second he's eligible, they will be re-signing him. He's not yet, but
it goes hand in hand with continuity. When you have a process, a scouting methodology, they have turned over that robust staff a couple of times in various ways, but at the top, between Howie, Alec, and then also a couple of other people they've had in
personnel
scouting
staff.
department as well. Like, that's a language, that's a process that's been developed and built over time that keeps that continuity. One of the best pieces of advice that I ever got from a front office person was, it was about coaching hires. It's like, if you make the right hire the first time, you never have to make the hire again. It's a similar concept with these players. If you identify and pick and have an ecosystem around a player where you can adequately develop the first time, you literally never have to do it again until he's ready to retire or leave.
Let's do our next.
Yes.
Ask Connie.
Ask
question.
Connie up
Ask
next.
Connie.
Okay, from Brock on Instagram. My big game meal was an array of cereals. Thoughts? Ask Connie.
So
That's bad.
they get ready for a big day with cereal?
I think he's saying Super Bowl Sunday he was just eating cereal.
An array of cereals.
Oh,
Thoughts?
I mean, so I haven't really had like cold cereal in a while, but I will say like Frosted Mini Wheats back in the day was my go-to from Costco. So you got the double box. But I see nothing wrong with that. Some people like a game day apple. Some people like cereals. But
An array is cool because that is something as a kid you sort of fantasize about, just having
options.
The most exciting thing for a child is being at a hotel that has the multiple options. So it's like that. You can relive that. Now, not a lot of nutritional value normally. I still buy shredded mini wheats.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
that's it.
They're not frosted though, just shredded.
They're frosted.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Listen, like a cereal buffet, sure.
I figured you as more of like what are those little like nodules that you have to soak for a while?
Mucilix?
No.
Oatmeal?
No, you have to. They're like great grains or something where you have to soak them for a while. It's like really good fiber.
I'm not a big cereal person either at this point. I would say
Mucilix? Are you drinking milk with it? Are you doing like oat milk, almond milk?
Of course you put milk in
regular
it.
milk.
Of course you put milk.
I want to know.
But I also probably only have a bowl of cereal max once every week or two. It's not too often. It's not a part of my regular diet. But I haven't grown up out of that. I didn't know that. Ooh, Connie's too mature. She's too cool for cereal.
You guys don't know what
know.
I eat. I eat also. I actually, believe it or not, before I came here, those like infant little, they're like packets of blueberry and spinach or whatever that's like crushed up into a. Why can't I think of the name of it?
A pouch?
Yeah, it's like a pouch.
It's a paste pouch. It's like a goo, like a Cliff Goo.
Yeah,
but like baby
it's
food.
like a smoothie. It's baby food in a pack. I eat that. I like that because I feel like I'm getting nutrients and I'm on the go.
You have the same diet as my 9-month-old son.
I do, and that's why
that
I'm
was
thriving.
his breakfast this morning.
That's amazing. All right, let's
Okay,
go to
we
our
got
next.
another one. We got another one for Ask Connie.
Ask Connie.
Joey says, how do I cope with being a Cowboys fan? I never experienced the 90s.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Joey. You will never cope. It's just you'll have to go to a new team, I think, unfortunately. You can stay in the division if you want and be a turncoat, come to the Eagles, but I don't know what you do at this point.
Why not
He always has-
let it build your character? You've had some fun with the Mavericks, assuming you're just like a Dallas sports fan, although with Cowboys fans,
Well, I was going to say, he always has the Yankees,
Oh, wow. Joey, I mean, I don't know, buddy, but maybe this year is your year.
Joey, my advice to you is to feel nothing ever.
Yeah, the asteroid's coming, Joey. Don't worry. You only got 7 more years rooting for the Cowboys.
The Cowboys fans,
Only 7 more years. No.
Yeah,
they occupy
over.
an interesting space though, because they get the most attention. That's kind of cool. If you're a fan, it might be annoying too, but you get great coverage. No team I think is covered more in their home city than the Cowboys are in Dallas. It really is.
You always have access to
like
what's
it
going
is
on.
next level. There's the amount of coverage that they have all year round, so that's cool, and nationally, and they're always. We're making fun of them, but other than like every 5 years where they bottom out, they're always pretty good. It could be worse. I could come up with 8 or 10 teams which I'd rather not root for, and so like it'll build character. It will happen at some point.
Well, yeah. On the flip side, if he stays loyal to his team and continues to suffer a little bit longer, then at some point, maybe before the asteroid hits, they'll win, and what a release that will be.
Yeah, you could say, I was there for the McCarthy time. I
was
was there for
Dark
the
times. Yeah.
Jerry Jones said we made a bunch of moves and we're going to be aggressive and then did nothing era.
I mean, I was there at least as an adolescent when they were truly bad. The Dave Campo and the who is that quarterback? Quint? Why am I blanking? But they were like extremely bad for about 5 to 8 years, and they still were on national TV every week. Let's get our next question.
Okay.
Ask Connie.
Connie, if you could scream anything into the void, what would it be?
Go Birds, maybe? But I have been doing that, it seems like, for the past 2 weeks, screaming it into the void. I scream a lot of things into the void.
Do you guys ever actually just scream for the sake of it, because no one can hear, just like in your car or something like that? Do you ever scream into the void?
I actually did that the other day. I just screamed,
Yeah.
why? At my steering wheel.
Well,
Yeah.
in the car, I think there are things that happen that lead you to scream and just be super frustrated. There was one time in the 11 years that I've worked here at NFL Media that I was so upset and so frustrated with what was happening. I walked myself out to the parking lot and sat in my car and just screamed at the top of my lungs.
Nice.
And
I need more.
yeah.
What led to that?
It was a series of things, and then just a lot of miscommunications, and I got burned a lot, and so it was like I was tired of like preparing, and then looking like I wasn't prepared, and so then
That's
I
a pet
just
peeve of mine.
screamed. I
Yeah.
screamed a lot, and I guess it felt better. I didn't scream at anyone. It was just into the void.
Into the void. This is actually why I think Grant Udinski goes to the fjords. Maybe he screams into the fjords.
Yes.
Got
Ooh.
2 more fjords.
Although you'll have
Yep.
like some voice coming back, some echoes.
Yeah.
Like I bet it sounds
Kind of cool.
I'm just like, baby food.
Literal baby food.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The
all right.
Cowboys, by the way, weren't in the wilderness quite as long as I thought. The Dave Campo years, 3 straight 5 and 11 years. But other than that,
I still haven't remembered the name of the cereal. Up next,
Quincy Carter.
Ask Connie.
Tequila Guy says 77 says nice handle, by the way. Get it? Tequila joke handle. What's the best way to deal with being a fan of a mid team?
Drink a handle of your handle.
There you go.
I mean, I don't know. Since the Eagles are good, I can't remember what it was now. You know what? You just gotta play fantasy and hope that your own team is going to be better than your mid team that you're rooting for, and just make sure everyone's having fun.
They say comparison is the thief of joy. I think in this case that it's not true. Realize that that's the vast majority of experiences for all fans. Every fan says, "Oh, like this would only happen to blank," and like every fan base thinks of that. There are 20 to 25 teams in the league and their fan bases that are experiencing sort of this mid-existence that you're talking about. And then you can realize, like, well, what makes me so special that I would think I'm going to have a way better experience than most of the people? I'm sharing this experience. This is basically what being a sports fan is. So keep the expectations relatively low.
Try not to be happy, Greg is
No,
advising.
I'm just saying keep the expectations low. Says the guy who got to watch
That's
6
a good rule, though.
Patriots
And
championships
You set the
and
bar not
Celtics
too
won.
high.
And
You set
I
it on
think-
the ground.
And I think he's also saying you're not alone.
Yes, that's what I meant. I am.
Right. That's true. That's true. I will say that if your team is mid, I think that's worse than your team being absolutely terrible. Because if you're stuck in limbo, it feels way worse because you could maybe get over the hump, but you're kind of just like hovering over the middle of things. I don't like that purgatory for
Right,
people.
but like I don't know why I'm suddenly thinking of the AFC North because the Browns are truly tortured. But then also just think of that same division. Like Bengals fans would say they're tortured, and Ravens fans, I know they've had a lot of success, but they would like they find the current era and what's happened the last 10 years like extremely frustrating. And Steelers fans, they think, how come everyone doesn't realize that Mike Tomlin can't win a playoff game, and this is frustrating that they are the definition of mid.
They are.
And so it's like everyone has these frustrations.
See, I think I would be fine. I'd be patient with most of these things. I would not be a Browns fan for many obvious reasons. But then the other thing is I would be pissed to be a Bengals fan because I would be feeling like I was being gaslit all the time.
Because
What do you mean you're trying?
I hate that. You see the potential right there. I'm frustrated
I can
by
fix
it.
him.
I hope he's not a Bengals fan.
Let's go to our next
Ask Connie.
question. I want the whole
Oh,
play next.
fashion advice for men.
Ooh, this is good. I don't love super tight jeans on guys.
Wait, Greg, stand up.
I think those
Just
are out.
kidding.
I'm wearing
Like
slacks. I'm wearing slacks.
they were popular for a time, like super skinny jeans. If you're because for women right now, it's like a lot
for
of
bands,
wide
like
leg
rocker,
jeans.
like sort of the bands.
It's a
yeah,
lot of like
like-
Kendrick walking across. The
Well,
stage.
that is
I loved his jeans.
They were like
Flares.
They
Flares.
were
Loved it.
Boot cut, flares, bell bottomy. That's not really my jam either. I don't really know a whole lot about men's fashion, so I like a good Henley, and just make sure that your jeans are not like overly washed.
I was gonna say, what do you feel about the acid wash?
Not into that.
What about Ed Hardy?
Please
How do we feel about
like Affliction? Anything that's like Affliction vibes. Or like,
Colleen is very stylish, but I don't think she's a good person to ask for men's fashion.
I don't
think she
know
would have
it.
a lot to offer there. I don't know why.
No. And also, like, I'm so fashionable. I'm wearing like a Target sweatshirt from
It's really cute,
5
though.
years ago. But
It's
thank you
cute.
so much.
Let's do it.
Ask Connie.
If you weren't covering the NFL, what sport would you cover instead? There's 2 questions here.
Okay.
Let's take that one first.
Okay, figure skating. Just because it's what I know the most. So if you don't know, I was a competitive figure skater growing up. So I love it, and every time I watch it, it makes me want to go and skate. So, and I like actually know what they're doing like before they even
Get
do
her
it.
LA Olympics. Get her on
You
the booth. Get her in the
know?
booth. This is a
Please.
PSA.
You know some people at NBC.
Do you?
Flex.
Do you now?
Now haven't been able to get myself a job.
That's
at
my
any of
dream.
Those Olympics.
Cover the
And I've
covered
tried.
figure skating.
And
in
I've
the
tried.
Olympics.
I literally used to try very hard to get tennis gigs at the Olympics. Not like I
I've
would
tried.
be on air broadcasting back then, just like working behind the scenes and stuff. I was not able to pull that off. But that would definitely be what I would want to announce if I
Yeah.
did another.
Let me work with, like,
another
Sarah
sport. Like
Lipinski
if
and
anyone
Johnny
is
Weir.
out there listening, I mean, Randy works at the freaking tennis channel. I think my contract would allow it. I'm very knowledgeable and I'm available.
I was going to say, I could see you covering tennis. I could see you definitely covering tennis, like as a commentator.
It's a time.
What
I
about
think
the
it would be
biathlon?
A breath of fresh air.
The old
too.
ski and shoot.
The old ski and
Let's see the second question. Here.
yeah.
Mine
Part
would be
two.
mine would be the dog show, by the way.
Oh,
I
good
went to one.
That's a good one.
My friend produced the dog show for NBC once, and I went out and went to it. It was a lot of fun. If you could pick a new team for one of the other members of the show to support, which team would you pick for them? And
Ooh.
I like
Why?
the idea of assigning Greg a new team other than the Patriots.
I have so many teams though.
Because you have the Saints, kind of, just from like
No.
Tulane. So maybe it's the Saints.
yeah.
I would give the Connie the
I don't know.
Giants
Are we
just for the content.
I was gonna say, are we mad at each other? We're assigning teams, or
You get
do
the
we-
Jets.
Yeah, you get the Jets. Congrats.
It would be great to have Jourdan have any team.
I know. I root for stories. guys.
Maybe you know what you do. You do kind of lean Cardinals, just loving what they do, and you are an
Now.
Arizona gal. So
Did you grow up with a team?
No, I didn't grow up with a team.
Really?
Yeah. So because I grew up in Phoenix, and it was like sort of like laughable at that time to root for the Cardinals and go sit in 150-degree bleachers
Sure.
to go watch them play games on Sundays before they had a stadium. Now I like them. I like what they're doing. I think they're interesting in terms of,
they always had
Their
a plucky
strategy
charm. They
and
had
their
those,
scheme.
those Jake Plummer years were kind of fun.
I
We're
do
gonna
root for
reverse
Jake
engineer
Plummer.
it and
I
have
do-
you be a Cardinals fan now.
I don't know. My sister's a Cardinals fan, and she's miserable every football season. So
That would be a betrayal. Yeah, we got to get you out of the NFC West. It's too much NFC.
I picked the
West in your
Vikings. I'll be a Vikings fan.
Wow.
Yeah, I like them.
I like that for you.
They're
Okay.
fun. Good vibes over there.
All right, last question here.
From Gregg Rosenthal.
Ask Connie.
Connie, why are you the way that you are?
How much time do we have left in the show? There's so many reasons. Sit down, get yourself some refreshments.
No, but if you had
provisions.
to like sort of drill down to one,
And you only have 7
know.
years to figure it out.
like a starting point
Why
that really
am I-
explains why are you the way.
the way, well, I
that
don't know if it's
you are.
because I'm like the baby of the family, like the youngest. So I'm just like, oh, look at me over here. I can juggle. I can do this. I can do that. Like, what do you need me to do? I'm not.
That makes sense.
Sure.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
As we wait,
That explains Tim too.
Okay,
did you see Tim?
I did at the wedding.
Good.
Yeah, shout out Uncle Jack. Jack and Bill got married. It was great.
So you saw Tim. That's
Yeah, and
nice.
Tim was there,
Yeah.
and my sister Mary.
Does he listen to the show?
No, he does not.
No, which is why I
I
feel
think-
comfortable taking little
Oh.
jokes. With.
I think that when you are in your between space before the asteroid hits,
Uh-huh.
you're deciding like kind of how you want to live your life. Your shop the name of your shop that you run could be called Essence of Connie.
Oh, I kinda
Odds
like
and ends.
that.
Lots of odds and ends in there.
I love tchotchkes. So yes, that's all I will sell.
All right, Eric, before we leave, we do have a very small item of news. I don't know if it's breaking. I don't know if we have developing, but I'll take either
A
one.
second asteroid.
Oh God.
One of those veteran quarterbacks is off the market. That's right. The Carolina Panthers have re-signed backup Andy Dalton to a 2-year deal.
Let's go.
I mean, that's something.
Good for him.
$6 million guaranteed, 37 years old. $6 million guaranteed is not bad. 2 years, $8 million. I think he looked at what's been out there for some of these guys in the past few years, and he's just he probably likes living there and is like, I'm sick of it.
It's a great gig. Like a backup quarterback, especially for him, like you're on the tail end of things. Like just sit back, collect some of that money. You come in when there's an emergency.
Yeah, he saw Jimmy G make $5 million in LA last year, and he goes, I glowed up too.
Exactly.
Give me 6.
No one, has improved his fashion forward hair,
His
stock,
hair
everything
is incredible.
has improved.
That's a swoop right there, Greg. I know you're working on your front swoop.
Not anymore.
It's a
I
crime to
chopped
cover
it
that
off
with a
here.
helmet.
Yeah, it really is. Andy Dalton, what a career. And I'm glad, we have a connection with him here in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio, the Dalton scale. For all these years later, a guy who got picked on a lot at the beginning of his career, and he's still making it happen. And now he's not the meridian for starting quarterbacks. That was the Dalton scale. He's now the prime meridian for backup quarterbacks. If you don't have a backup quarterback better than Andy Dalton, you need one. And if you have one better than Andy Dalton, then you're fine. You don't need to try to improve.
He's also kind of a high point for finances for backup quarterbacks, a little bit, right? Like
That's
$6
pretty
million
good.
Guaranteed
For
that's
like
pretty good.
truly true backups.
Good for him.
And he, Bryce Young's not that he's had any injury issues, but you could see Andy Dalton playing for the Bengals. By the way, I don't know if you saw this before we go.
Panthers for the
I thought this news was a little wild. Schefter threw out on his podcast. He just kind of threw out that, hey, like Aaron Rodgers isn't going to cost as much as Matthew Stafford. So if the Rams wanted to get some picks for Matthew Stafford, maybe Aaron Rodgers would make a little sense there for like less money, and he would really like that.
That's really interesting. I think I saw something similar in the athletic.com this week about the previous interest by the Rams in Aaron Rodgers and the fact that the Rams would only be going for a bridge quarterback should they actually decide to move on from Matthew Stafford. I don't know where I read it.
You wrote it,
I think it
obviously.
was the athletic.com.
Yeah.
But just
Wait,
noticing.
does he,
Just
to
noticing.
clarify, does Aaron Rodgers count as a bridge quarterback that they could be interested in?
That he does count, I think, as a for the
why?
limitations of the market that I believe he will have, as well as his age. But I think if they do, bottom line, if they do move on from Matthew Stafford, it will be a bridge. They won't spend a significant amount of money or time parameters on a contract structure unless that person is their present and their future.
I can't wait to read more about that on theathletic.com.
I just want better for my family. My family, the Rams fans, they do not want Aaron Rodgers. They do not want to be rooting for Aaron Rodgers.
Well,
and yet it sort of makes sense
They were-
that he would take a Sean McVay discount because who's the one guy who could revive his career and have him go out pretty well? He actually might think about taking relatively little money for Aaron Rodgers, and they would be confident enough that they could make it work. But they shouldn't be. It's asking for a fox in the hen house.
I will say, all of that's true. I will say, and I don't mean to make this sound like a jab or anything. They're an extremely hubristic organization. Like they think they can do these things, and then half the time they actually go do them.
Oh man, I'm glad we got that in this show because that was just a
Wow,
little
thank
nugget.
God. Thank God.
Let's
Fox
go.
in the hen house really got me.
Let's play that music. Great having you back, Colleen.
So good to be here. That was fun.
Ask Connie.
Yeah.
Yay.
We will bring back Ask Connie this offseason because
Wisdom.
Excellent.
it's there in the title. It's a daily show. There's a lot of shows coming up. We'll be back previewing Division with Patrick Claybon and Steve Weiss. Yes, it is the Greggular season right now.
Regular. I love when you're like this because that's my default. So I'm like, come on over. Are you unhinged? Yeah. Let's all be unhinged together.